be. Okay. What's your name?
Arthur.
Arthur. Why did you join the service, or were you drafted, and how old?
No, I joined.
You joined? How old were you?
I was almost 18.
18? Okay. What branch of service were you in?
Army.
Army? Okay. Where'd you serve?
Did I serve?
Yeah.
Well, took basic training in Fort Dix. They shipped me over to Fort Lee, Virginia, and I asked for an overseas assignment.
Okay. Any particular reason why overseas, or?
I just wanted to get away from the normal. It was just a nothing post.
Okay.
I wanted to see the world a little bit.
Okay. Did you have any knowledge of the turmoil in overseas?
I wanted an overseas assignment, basically Europe.
Yep.
They sent me to Korea.
Okay. How'd you feel about that?
I didn't like it. I spent a winter there and almost froze to death.
Okay. Obviously you went to Vietnam after that, but...
Well, yeah, they asked for volunteers and I volunteered.
Okay. Any reason behind that, or
just... Yeah, just to get out of Korea.
Okay. During your time in Vietnam, did you know what you were fighting for?
Communism.
Communism? Okay. To abolish it, or to...
To abolish it.
Okay.
We were helping the South.
Okay. Did you believe in what the United States government's mission?
I did at the time.
At the time, do you regret believing in it now?
After it faded away.
Do you regret believing in it?
Yeah, they lied to us.
Okay.
I believed it at the time.
Okay. Were you happy in Vietnam? Fighting the war, or
there were good
these surroundings?
There were good times and there was bad times.
Okay. What did you think of the Vietnamese people?
The people?
Yeah, the people there.
They
how they accept you, type of thing.
Yeah, they didn't care. All they wanted was our money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all they wanted.
Okay.
Couldn't trust them anyway.
All right. Did you personally, or any of the American soldiers in your unit, act racially superior to the Vietnamese?
Some did.
Some did?
Some did.
Any actions that you could think of that would show the racially superiority? Just the way they talked to him, what they did to him, how they treated him?
Pushing him.
Okay.
Pushing him around.
Okay. Did you ever think that Vietnam was just a civil war between the same people?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know why we got involved.
You don't know why we got involved?
Yeah, why did they involve the United States?
Okay. Do you think it was partially to help the French? Because we were allies? Based on what we know about
the French were there first.
Yep.
And I think I told you earlier, Ho Chi Minh came to the United States and asked for help.
Okay.
And the United States said the French are our allies. I can't help you.
Okay.
So he took his own actions.
Okay. Did you ever go on? Well, it's listed here as seek and destroy missions.
No, I was in the combat engineers.
Okay. What daily tasks would you do?
When we found a tunnel complex, we'd go in and either blow it up, seal whatever was in there.
Okay. Did you know the government was lying to the American public at home? Furthermore than what you thought.
Well, not at first, but we had TV. We could see them protesting. And we went, what are we doing here?
Okay. After you saw the television broadcast and you said, well, what are we doing here? Did you further and further believe less why you were there, or?
Yeah, because the South Vietnamese young boys who run around in the streets riding their bicycles, why weren't they fighting and helping us?
Okay.
It was their war.
The acts of heroism?
Heroism?
Yeah, did you ever see it? Or, can you recall a particular event?
No. I
No?
haven't, no.
Okay.
Not in my unit.
Was it more your unit banding together to save each other's lives? Or, if in particular...
Yeah, we were a family.
Okay.
And we watch each other's back.
Okay. Were the officers there portrayed as bad as in the movies? that had been published since
No,
Vietnam?
I think some of them didn't know what they were doing. They were going by the book. And in Vietnam, he threw the book away.
Okay. Did you ever have the feeling that you were winning the war or could win the war?
We could have won the war if they left it with the Air Force.
Okay.
All they had to do was bomb Hanoi. Would have been over 2 years.
Okay. What did you think of your fighting foe, either the Viet Cong or the Army of North Vietnam?
What did I think of them?
Yeah, what do you think of them? I mean,
Well,
what did you think
the
of
Viet
them?
Cong were, they were fighting in their own backyard. And I believe they were good soldiers. They would hit and run.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't fight us head on. They knew we had the firepower.
Did you think that if fought on a different territory, that they would have fought less hard? Or
Yeah.
they have the mindset that it's my backyard, I'm going to defend it the
I
most?
believe so.
Okay. Could you trust the native South Vietnamese people?
No.
Did you trust them at all?
Some
Some, but very few.
some villages were friendly, but they were always they were friendly to the Viet Cong also because they feared them.
Okay. Did you hate the hippies and college students at home?
Sort of.
For
Like
that.
I'm here, they were burning their draft cards. Like my brother was one of them.
Okay. Did you feel any more animosity towards why should you be there instead of them when you could have just taken, say, a lighter and burned your draft card? Or excuse me, you joined,
Yeah,
but
I chose the faith.
you chose the
chose
faith
to be
in your
there.
country. Okay, fair enough. Did you feel any hatred when you got back because they weren't there and you were?
Yeah, well, they treated us like nothing. Like nothing happened.
Okay.
They come home and there were no parades.
Okay. When you got back and they not greeted you, excuse me, but then they threw apples at you at the airports or the bus stations.
The airport, tomatoes and eggs.
Okay.
So
How did that make you feel like?
some guys were very angry. I think if they had weapons, they would have shot.
Okay. All right. Any comment about your combat experiences in Vietnam?
Well,
I mean, how was the
I
fighting?
saw, little combat. They hit us about 4 times.
Okay.
But like I say, I was in combat engineers. So our job was to get all their caches, their weapons, and we'd blow them up, whatever they confiscated.
Okay.
And like I say, our job was to destroy the tunnels.
Okay.
Whenever they
After such, they were
whenever,
clear.
yeah, whenever
or-
the infantry went in, they found a tunnel complex, they would call the engineers in.
Okay. Any of your close personal friends get deceased over there?
Yeah, I had lost one guy, and one guy got severely wounded,
Okay.
and he went home.
Okay.
Like I said, a mortar came in, and they spotted our position. It was a harassment, really.
Okay.
We didn't fight hand to hand.
Okay. How long did it take to become immune to combat and to killing? I mean, how long did it take for you to get over the fact that you were, well, you didn't see much combat, but how long did it take for the whole situation that you were in for you to get over it?
If you were there a month and lasted a month,
Mhm.
you might make it.
Okay. Did any of your friends feel the same way over there?
Yeah, a lot of them had a lot of animosity
Towards.
to the war itself.
Okay. Did you ever feel that when on downtime from, say, you were doing your missions and stuff, did you ever have an experience where somebody was bad mouthing the war in that kind of group circle that you might have been in?
Oh yeah.
Did you feel more animosity towards that person or?
No. But when when I was there, it was like, let's do it. I mean, it's a good cause.
Okay.
But as the war went on, and on, and on, like 10 years.
More redundancy
Oh,
ensued.
God.
Okay.
And especially those soldiers that were in the late 60s and 70s. They didn't want to fight no more. For what reason?
Okay. Did you get a high from combat? Did it excite you at all, or did it make you the other
Well,
spectrum?
you're always scared. I don't care what it was.
Okay.
And then when it was over, you felt that rush.
Okay.
You felt good. You know, like, oh, another day.
That
And
you were
cross
alive.
make another cross on that calendar.
Okay.
It's 365 days and you were out of there.
Okay. When you lost your friends, did you feel that, oh, my time is coming, or did you feel that now I have to fight harder not to be like that?
You made all excuses not to go out.
Okay. Okay. What was your favorite excuse?
Go to the infirmary. I don't feel good.
Okay.
Force yourself to throw up.
Okay. Were drugs very prevalent for?
Well, all around us.
Really?
All around us.
Okay.
Especially marijuana.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Did a lot of guys do the drugs to stay down?
Yeah, to stay down. You know,
and not try to remember what they did earlier in the day type of thing?
If they had to go out, they were kind of tuned in, but when they came in, it was a relaxation, and plus you drank warm beer.
Okay. Did you ever disagree with the drug use could you get down from?
Well, the only thing I never smoked.
Okay.
But if you were there in the bunker, all you had to do was inhale it. And
Okay. Did you become disillusioned in your mission while you were in Vietnam when you got home, or not at all? Disillusioned to the surroundings that you were in? Or?
No, I fared pretty good.
Okay.
Okay.
How were you treated when you got home? You said earlier that you eat eggs and tomatoes.
Well, yeah. When we got off the plane, but not to my homeland, in the hometown.
Yeah.
But,
did you
get
find
a job? They asked if you were in Vietnam.
Yeah. Did you ever get treated differently because you were in Vietnam by say a job interview or?
Yeah, they were. The job interview. They asked if you were in Vietnam.
Would they treat you
And
differently?
they kind of like a little shaky.
Okay.
Anyway, they already figured you're drugs, you kill kids.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Do you feel that Vietnam was a mistake?
Yeah, now I do.
No.
Yeah, now I do.
What changed your mind?
Through the years, while the war was going on.
Just thinking about it.
Yeah, and Nick Johnson escalated the war.
Okay. How did he escalate it more?
In 1966, he started bombing specific targets, and he made up this whole thing that they were being attacked out in the water. They weren't. They're like say gunships. The gunships are like 18-foot boats.
Okay. Did you feel that he was trying to escalate the interest of the war, or just
The political,
the
money-making deal.
Okay.
Money. He had big condos going up in Thailand.
Yep.
They know the average GI had $500 on him when he went on R&R.
Okay. What was your did you have any regrets about your military service?
No, I'm glad I went in. I'm glad I went in.
Any specific? You don't have any regrets about going to the war or volunteering, I should say.
No, my dad was in World War One. My cousins were in World War II, Korea, and I just wanted to do what I was
Okay.
supposed to do.
Did you ever receive medals?
No, good conduct, Vietnam Service Medal, and the Korean Service Medal.
Okay. Was My Lai just one of the many massacres that took place?
That was one of them, and there was another one, Dak To. They wiped out a whole village.
Okay.
There was nothing left of it.
Okay. Excuse me if I get his name wrong. Cali, innocent or guilty?
Say that again?
Cali, C-A, yeah.
Yeah.
Guilty or innocent?
He had to do what he was only doing his job, but he did it too well. I mean, there was no reason to kill children.
Okay.
But he didn't do it personally. Yeah, his men did it.
Okay.
And then they turned around and.
Okay. Do you think that if he did it a different way, that it's say if he just massacred, excuse me, if he just went after the men and the army troops, do you think it would have been less
because,
less stereotyped about
because
it?
they didn't keep him in jail too long. They kind of knew what went on there.
Okay.
He was being sniped every day, and his superior said, "Do what you got to do.
Okay.
Stop it."
All right. Do you think he should have gone that far?
No, not that
No.
far. No.
Do you think it was more to stop the sniping and to stop the killing of his men that he took it so far, or was it a personal vendetta to say his superior said?
After a while, you see men die. You just want to kill everybody.
Understandably. Do you think any of your fellow veterans of Vietnam use all the angst about the war as an excuse for not pulling their lives? For not pulling their lives together, excuse me.
Oh, use it as an excuse?
Yeah.
No, some guys just can't function anymore.
Okay.
You know, they saw too much.
They saw too much, okay.
Yeah.
And
a lot of death and devastation.
yeah. Did you ever have any repercussions because of what you saw or what you might have done?
Sometimes, and I don't know what brings it on.
Really?
I don't know what brings it on.
Okay. How would you have won the war in Vietnam?
I would let the generals of the Air Force
Okay.
take it.
So
They wouldn't do it. They put one hand behind their backs.
Okay. Any other general comments about the war?
No. But this one going on now is going to be the same if they don't watch out.
Okay. Okay. Do you feel that, looking back on it now, do you feel it's being taught the right way in history classes and such?
Not really. It's not much of it
Yeah.
of Vietnam.
Do you think it should be more specific or less specific?
Oh, let's just tell the truth.
Okay. What is the truth in your eyes?
The truth?
That you believe now, or when you were over there?
Well, like I say, we were helping the South Vietnamese, teach them how to fight.
Okay.
And we should have turned the war over to them.
Okay.
But I think politicians in this country saw the potential of making money.
Okay.
Bell Helicopter, the munitions,
Mm-hmm.
Agent Orange, DuPont.
Well,
And a lot of vets are dying for that.
do you
Dying of
feel
cancer.
do you feel any animosity towards, say, the government for developing that stuff and maybe killing one of your friends accidentally? Or
Hell, they knew what the hell was going to happen.
okay.
And they just dump it on the troops. And those people there are still going to die for another 40 years.
Okay. All right. Well, I thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay.
We go. All right. What's your name?
Edwin Cull, C-U-L-L.
Okay. Why did you join the service, or were you drafted?
Well, I would have been drafted very soon in 1942,
Okay.
but we had just gotten finished the first year of college, and I knew if I volunteered, I'd be able to choose the branch of service I wanted to go in.
Okay. How old were you?
18,
18?
just
Okay.
right.
You said you were going to college before you joined the service?
Yeah, RISD, Rhode Island.
Okay.
You know RISD.
Yeah, RISD. Okay. What branch of service were you in?
The Signal Corps, a high-speed radio operator.
Okay.
Am I talking loud enough?
Oh yeah, fine. How did your parents at the time feel about you joining the service?
Well, everybody my age was joining or being drafted, and people were enthusiastic about fighting the Germans and the Japs. So they never tried to dissuade me. They were all for it too.
Okay. Where did you do your basic training?
Fort Monmouth, New Jersey.
Okay. Did you like it there?
Yes, it was a great place to be winter or summer because we could hop on the train for New York City, be there in a couple of hours on weekends. In the summer, all the girls whose boyfriends and husbands had left them came down to the shore, the New Jersey shore. And the minute we walked up and down the beach, we had all kinds of attractions to look at.
Good deal. Was there a culture shock on your part, meeting people from all over the country while you were doing your basic training or in the war?
No, I mean, I spent one winter training in Missouri it was, and we hitchhiked all the time, of course, and everywhere people were very friendly. They'd invite us back to dinner or offer us a couple of sandwiches or want us to come home with them, and spend the night and everything. I've actually been asked that, but anyway, I never did because we had other plans.
Okay. Do you have any interesting stories from your basic training experience?
Basic training. Well, the actual basic training, which I think was 1 month, was done at Camp Edison, which is near Fort Monmouth, but it's located beside the town of Edison, New Jersey, named for Thomas Edison, by the way. And it was right on the seashore, which made it convenient in the summertime. And there was a hurricane. This would have been 42 or 43. A hurricane came up the coast, and I still have pictures of what the barracks looked at. Because the water actually moved the barracks and made a mess, and everything was wet. We had clothes and sheets and blankets hanging up from the rafters everywhere. And maybe one other interesting story was that there was a hotel near us just outside the camp, and evidently it was mostly women, as you can imagine, going there for their vacation. So the hotel would call the camp and ask for soldiers to come over at nighttime just to dance with the girls. So I can tell you I had more dates than I could actually stand down there.
Okay. You said earlier you were a radio operator.
Yeah, high-speed radio.
Okay.
Yeah.
In what zone of combat did you see action?
The South Pacific.
South Pacific. Okay. We'll get to the World War II questions themselves. Which theater of combat would you have preferred to serve, Europe or Pacific? I know you served in the Pacific, but would you have a preference if you had a choice?
Obviously, I didn't have a choice. And if I did have a choice, I think the European theater would have been more interesting because the people we met in the Philippine Islands and Japan were all right, but I would have felt more at home and at ease with the women with everybody in France, England, and places like that. And also in England, they would have spoke our language. That would have made it easier too.
True. Okay. Do you think one theater was more important than the other one in terms of Europe and the Pacific?
No, I really don't. They were both strategically very important, of course. I cannot say one was more important than the other.
Okay. Did you have to conjure hatred for the Germans or the Japanese, or did the hate come naturally? In terms of like, if you were in basic training and you just did your job type of say, or did you particularly hate the Japanese because of, say, Pearl Harbor?
Well, the propaganda against, from basic training on up, was to make us hate the Germans, to make us hate the Japanese, pictures of their slanty eyes and things like that. So, yes, and the Japanese were very cruel, and so were the Germans. Everybody knows what Hitler and the Germans were like, so yes, we were made to hate them all.
You were made to hate them?
Yeah.
Okay. You didn't, You didn't say after Pearl Harbor you didn't grow a hatred for the Japanese because what they did.
Not naturally, it was just foisted upon us.
Okay. And at the time Pearl Harbor happened, you weren't in the service yet.
No, that's right, I was not, because
Okay.
I joined early in '42, so it would have been after
Okay.
Pearl Harbor.
Okay. Did you join particularly because of what happened?
Pearl Harbor?
Yeah.
No, we were deeply into the war in the spring of 1942, and as I said before, I knew I was going to be drafted anyway, so that's one reason I joined.
Okay. Do you think the Pacific War, the Pacific War, was a racist war?
I wouldn't say racist, even though a lot of people would say so, because the Japanese who lived in California were put in internment camps and so forth, which, by the way, nobody objected to at the time. Everybody hated the Japanese so, and were made to hate them, that we all agreed they should have been sent to those internment camps at the time. So I wouldn't say it was a racist war.
Okay. Just the particular race that they were? It was more a war of, or...
Well, one reason I think the propaganda was put forth to make us hate the Germans and hate the Japanese, because if we ever were really in fighting combat, a fighting war, if we hated them, we'd more likely wipe them out and fight them and kill them and shoot them.
Instead of being mostly political.
Yes, which many boys would find unnerving to have to shoot anybody.
Okay. What do you have to say about your combat experiences? Any interesting stories about those? Or not interesting, but any stories at all?
Yes, the strange thing is that when we got overseas, I very seldom use my experience sending and receiving messages for the Army. Mostly we were doing just ordinary things like KP and cleaning up the yard and who knows what. And we'd go, the water was lovely, so we'd go swimming in the ocean when we could, of course. One combat experience, I never had to kill anyone, thank goodness. And I can't say I was deeply involved in a real wartime combat situation, except once or twice. We were off in the Pacific Ocean in the Philippines. My group of about 35 radio operators was assigned to the Navy, and we lived on a Navy ship, by the way, a big Navy communications ship. And it was good duty compared to the Army because their food was better than ours. And we did regularly have hours we spent in what they call the radio shack, which is really a big room full of typewriters and antennas and wires on the top of the ship, the top deck of a ship. And we might put in 6 hours a day if we were not involved in battle. But when we get involved in a real battle with airplanes and shooting wars and bombs falling, then we'd have to put in 12 hours a day, at least, maybe more. Well, one day I was up in the radio shack and I had a few minutes off. We did get breaks during the day. And I was out on the deck watching the gunfire because the Japanese planes were overhead trying to drop bombs on us, and it was a real shooting war. I will say I was never really afraid, scared for my life. However, this Japanese kamikaze would suddenly come out of the sky, heading right for us, right for the top of the ship. And we all thought we're done for. So I ran as fast as I could around to the other side of the radio shack, threw myself on the deck, and by golly, the plane went about 20 feet over the top of the ship and smashed into the ship beside us with a big explosion, of course. And the next day they buried 20 or 21 men in the sea. So I felt I was very, very lucky to survive that one. That was about the most interesting experience I could think of.
Did you feel rejuvenated, perhaps, if at all, after you saw the plane go above you and into the next ship? Did you feel a sense of, wow, this really could have been me?
Yes, that's true. I felt very relieved. We all did.
Okay.
We just mopped our brows, so thank God we were very lucky that time.
Okay. All right. Did you feel your superior officers were trustworthy, knowledgeable, or inspiring at all?
Which, if we're talking about commissioned officers, which I assume, I had many officers in charge over the years, the 3 years that I was in, and some were very military and very knowledgeable, well-trained, good manners, and others were almost the opposite. I know overseas in the Philippine Islands, we had some junior officers, which were like 19 years old, second lieutenants. We call them 30-day wonders because they had been through OCS officer training school for just 1 month. And some of them tended to be buddies with us, which we liked at the time.
Yeah.
But several times I saw these junior officers reprimanded by higher up officers because they were being too friendly with us. One young officer, we were using picks and shovels somewhere, he wanted to help us just for the exercise, and another officer said, "No, you're in charge. You're not to be working with the men."
Okay.
So that just shows we had all kinds of officers.
Did you find that sometimes when officers came out of OCS and were put in right assignment, were harder to take orders from because you knew that they didn't know what they were doing? Or did you find it easier to take orders from people that progressed through the ranks?
Well, you know, one thing that soldiers were always taught in basic training is always obey orders, regardless who it comes from.
Okay.
Either a non-commissioned officer or a commissioned officer. So I didn't feel that it was ever difficult to follow orders. I just naturally followed the orders and assumed it was the right thing to do.
Okay. Based on that, did you ever refuse to obey an order?
No. Interestingly enough, we've all seen that happen on TV.
Yeah.
But I can't recall an instance where I actually refused to obey an order.
Did any of your friends in the war ever disobey an order?
Probably. I don't remember any specific instance.
Okay.
Getting back to that question about the officers being trustworthy and honest and so forth. It was interesting that when we got to the Philippine Islands and were told to set up our tents, these are big tents that about 6 or 8 soldiers sleep in. We were on a flat plain, a good place for setting up tents. But the Filipinos who spoke English and who lived near there came around and said, no, don't put your tents here. It's the wrong place because when the rains come, you know, they have a dry season and a rainy season. When the rains come, it will be all flooded. So we stopped and we looked at the officers. They wouldn't listen to the whole bunch of them wouldn't listen to a word that those Filipinos had to say. Now, they may have had orders from higher up, but they said, go ahead, set the tents up anyway. And by golly, one day, all of a sudden it started to pour, and continually, all day, all night, all week it poured, and pretty soon we were wading up to our knees in muddy water just trying to get to our tents. So that's when they really had to move our quarters to another place.
Okay. Did you ever have any contact with the Japanese soldiers?
Yes, after the war, we were sent to Japan only 1 month after the H-bomb. That would have been September
Yep.
of 45.
Yep.
And I was then, this is kind of a joke, I was a high-speed radio operator in Japan. I was the typist for Battalion Supply. There were 3 of us working in Battalion Supply. And we had 2 or 3 Japanese fellows working for us, doing the heavy lifting and so forth. And strangely enough, they were so friendly to us. They weren't at all like the Japanese who were pictured in those documentaries that they showed us in basic training. They joked with us and they wanted to learn English, and they were fun to be with and very helpful. And I know we used to go down the railroad tracks to a certain place at night, and where the black market was. Everybody was selling things in the black market, and the Japanese were very friendly there too. And of course we couldn't speak to most of them, a language difficulty. However, the number system in Japan is the same as ours. So if we were bartering, or if they were bartering for some cookies or something like that, we could scratch numbers in the dirt, you know, and they could understand that, and we could come to some conclusion.
Did you ever feel any animosity towards those who worked with you in terms of the Japanese people?
No, I can't say I found one Japanese that was difficult, even difficult to get along. And the Japanese had already, this is kind of a joke, but the Japanese had already set up streets with a big sign at the beginning of the street. Street of Consolation, in English, by the way. And most of the houses had a plaque on the front saying, House of Consolation. And this was the red light district. They had all these geisha girls in them because they knew the Americans would want the girls. And I'll tell you, it worked out perfectly for the Americans. So no, we had never had any animosity with the Japanese at all.
Okay, how did the people of Japan or the Philippines, how did they feel about you being there?
The Philippines, did you say?
The Philippines or Japan, if you went to Japan after the war.
Yes, and it was amazing how well the people we did business with or talked to, how well they accepted defeat. It was almost as though they didn't care. They were just so happy that the war was over, and almost as though they were glad to see us come. And in the Philippine Islands, they were very friendly and helpful. And of course, many Filipinos worked for the soldiers or worked on KP for the companies, on the battalions. And we never had any trouble with any of them. They were good workers, and they were friendly, and they were willing. Fortunately, most of the Filipinos spoke English, so we could converse with them, and they were most helpful and very friendly.
Okay. Any misconceptions that the American public has about World War II?
Misconceptions.
Do you think they have a different perception of what it was versus how it was for somebody in the service like yourself?
Well, we always firmly believed that Truman made the right decision when he dropped the A-bomb, the H-bomb, I'm sorry. Well, it's A-bomb or H-bomb.
Yep.
On Hiroshima and so forth, dropped another one in Nagasaki. We always felt it was the right decision because if we had had to invade Japan, there would have been terrible loss of lives. Japan had already enlisted all the women and some of the older children even to fight us and kill us. And it would have been terrible. Where after the war there was a big controversy on whether he did the right thing. So let's see if there was any other. I would say almost everybody to a man felt that internment of the Japanese in California during the war was the right thing to do at the time. And today we're made to feel that it was terrible, that they never should have been there. In fact, they were given money by the government, something like $5,000 or $10,000 a piece, just because they were interned. But at the time, we felt and we were made to feel that they could be traitors. They could be working for Japan behind our backs. And the best thing to do was to put them in this little camp by themselves.
Okay. How would you sum up the efforts of the Allies in World War II? Being Russia, France, England.
Well, I can speak firsthand about Russia because Russia, which is so typical of Russia, decided to come into the war against the Japanese at the last moment. And I don't know as they fought any battles against the Japanese. They may have sent a few pilots in airplanes over at the last minute, but it was really a joke. So we've never had any love for the Russians. We didn't then, and we don't now, of course, either.
Okay.
And the other allies I can't speak for because they were on the other side of the world.
Okay. Do you still carry any animosity towards your old adversaries?
No, I wouldn't say at all, no. Because the Japanese people are not like Emperor Hirohito or their leaders were at the time. The Japanese were made to go fight and made to kill people and made to hate us. But I don't think the Japanese themselves wanted to. As I say, my experiences in Japan after the war were where they were perfectly friendly and there was no fault we could find in them. They're just ordinary people like we are here.
How do you feel now as you look back on 60 years and 60 plus years now? How do you feel? Would you still have joined the service?
If I had to do over again, you mean?
Yeah, if you had to do it over again, would you have joined the service again?
Oh, yes, I think I did the right thing.
Yep.
And I really didn't make any mistake by joining the Signal Corps. I could have been in branches that would have been a lot worse.
Okay. All right, that's it.
That's it. Glad